baby's all grown up.
I'm good.
Baby's all grown up.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you would, please rise for our invocations. Led by my educator, teacher, and remain standing for our pledge of allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together in this forum, and that we can praise you for your power and your majesty in our lives. We thank you for all the provisions you provide us on a daily basis, those that we count and the ones that we miss. We don't mean to take for granted, but we are grateful for all your provisions. Lord, we ask that you continue to protect our school children. It's been a great first 2 weeks. We thank you for the police officers and the emergency people, the fire department, everybody who's involved and watchful, and all the parents who are watchful and vigilant about how they drive through the school zones and the times that they need to be very watchful. We thank you for the protection against inattentive drivers, the use of cell phones in school zones, and just people not paying attention, reaching down to grab something, maybe a coffee spills, and they're more focused. And we thank you for that to protect our children. We thank you for all the teachers, the staff, the administrators, the coaches, the bus drivers, the administrative secretaries, all the people involved in a daily basis that keep the schools running, all for the benefit of our children. We also ask that you protect in this season of athletics, especially starting just now in this new school year, that you protect the families and the friends and the fans that travel to and from to the away games, and protect those families that are traveling to us at Buren as we are showing hospitality to those groups and families. We thank you for all that you do for us as a community, as we, as neighbors to one another. We just love one another, and we treat others with respect, and we just want to thank you for all you do for us, to keep us mindful of that, as how important that is. And as leaders of this community, we thank you for our chief of police, our chief of fire department, all the people that are involved in things that we may just not notice at the moment, but when we need them, they are there in a moment's notice in office. We thank you for our mayor, our city planner, our lawyer and the city lawyer. Everyone is involved just for us, and we thank you for all the blessings that you give us the wisdom and the insight to make the right decisions for this community. We do this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go ahead and take your seats. The first thing I want to do, Chief Arnold, would you go ahead and just step up here with me? I want to do a recognition for an individual, Dylan Marr. Dylan, you step up. I want you to turn around this way. There's a prayer just a moment ago. Alderman Nealon talked about taking care of each other and a community watching out over itself and individuals in that community. And Dylan Marr is an example of that. Dylan, about 3 weeks ago now, isn't it? We had a fire down an apartment complex, and Dylan was going into work and saw the fire, saw the smoke, and called 911. Yep. And then proceeded to knock on doors at the apartment complex to wake people up and alert them that this fire was happening. And in fact, I think that you knocked on one door and there's a lady in there on oxygen.
Yep. The old lady on oxygen. I never known her name. I never asked her name. I still don't know her name. I wish I could get her name. But the old lady on oxygen was right next to the actual apartment that caught fire, and I helped her down the stairs.
Get her down the stairs. So I want to do this certificate of recognition from the city. Whereas congratulations and citations are in order for Mr. Dylan Marr for his heroic efforts in saving the lives of several residents of the Colonial Apartment Complex in Van Buren, Arkansas. And whereas early Thursday morning, August 9th, as Dylan was driving to work, he saw smoke coming from the apartment complex, and whereas after calling 911 to report the fire, Dylan stopped and alerted several residents of the impending fire to the building by knocking doors and assisting residents away from the building. And whereas this courageous action in averting what could have been a tragic loss to family, friends, and community was an act of heroism which deserves special recognition by the governing body of this city. Now therefore I, Bob Freeman, Mayor of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, acting under the authority vested in me as the mayor, hereby deem an honor and pleasure to extend this certificate of recognition to Mr. Dylan Marr for his bravery and tenacity to put mankind above self and for his heroic actions under my hand, Bob Freeman, Mayor of the City of Van Buren. Thank you. This way? Yes, this way.
Sorry.
You'll grab the Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Sorry.
That's all right. Big smile, everybody. Okay.
Again, Dylan, congratulations and thank you for your service to the community. All right. Good stuff. All right, first formal action on our agenda is a copy of the minutes from last month's regular meeting from July 23rd, 2018. I'll ask if there are any corrections to the minutes as they've been written. And if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Those minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is a resolution regarding cooperative agreement with the Van Buren School District. Ask clerk please read that resolution in its entirety.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, Resolution to enter into a cooperative agreement with the Van Buren Public School District and for other purposes. Whereas it is the intention of the Van Buren Police Department and the Van Buren School District to maintain collaborative efforts to provide a safe and healthy school environment for the students, staff, faculty, and visitors. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Van Buren, Arkansas, that Section 1, the City Council hereby authorizes the Van Buren Police Department through its Chief of Police to enter into the attached cooperative agreement with the Van Buren Public School District for the providing and funding of school resource officers within the Van Buren Public Schools.
Attached document is the basically the same one with some changes as far as the manning process that we had signed with the school district previously. It's been through the Board of Education. We've discussed it. We are very, very blessed to have the school district step up, step forward to fund the additional school resource officers. We will, our agreement, part of that, we'll provide the training and the equipping of the officers. They'll provide for the personnel cost for those officers, which will give us an additional 6 officers, and we will have a school resource officer in each of our schools. Then the training will take place, and expect to have those within the schools in spring, early March of next year. This is, I so much appreciate the chief and the superintendent, and I'll point to a member of the school board here for stepping up to do this. It's great work. Questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Go ahead and call your roll,
Who
please.
was the second? Councilmember Petty,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Swain,
Aye.
Councilmember Sparkman,
Aye.
Councilmember Nealon,
Aye. ayes have it by a vote of 5-4-0 against, and that'd be resolution number
8-1-2018.
8-1-2018. Thank you very much. And with that, the next item that we have, to formalize that, is to invite our new police officers to come forward. Chief Hanson.
If I can, just real quick, and I appreciate you all allowing us to do this, but come on, guys. We make it a big deal, rightfully so, when police officers retire, but we don't make a big deal when they get hired. So we wanted to have all our new officers come tonight, and bring their families if they so desire. Let our city clerk swear them in, and they just finished their first week, right, of police academy training, so they got 12 weeks to go. So what a great time to bring these new officers in, to be sworn in, and also to give them the chance to introduce the families who are here with them. So with that, that's nice.
Raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jonathan Harris,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution
that I will uphold the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
and I will faithfully perform
and I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
which I am now about to enter.
which I am now about to enter.
Congratulations.
That's it. Brandon, we'll start here at the end. If you want to introduce you know you got some family here. Can you just introduce?
Yeah, my mom and dad, stepmom, stepdad,
What's their name?
girlfriend.
They got names. There you go.
District Judge Baker is my stepdad. My mom's Sheriff Blunt, Crawford County Circuit Clerk. My girlfriend Kelly Patterson. Where's the ball? There they are. And then my stepmom Cindy, my dad Damon, my aunt Jan, and my uncle Ronnie, retired captain of the Van Buren Police Department. But I was born and raised here in Van Buren, graduated from Van Buren High School, so I'm extremely blessed to be here because this is my hometown. So I can't wait to put that uniform on and see everybody out here. We got to do what we got to do to protect everybody out here. So
I'm Jonathan Arredondo. My mom and my little sister are here today. Mia and Anna Rebecca. My best friend Joel Cuevas. I'm from Clarksville, Arkansas. I've been wanting to be a police officer since 8th grade, and I got lucky to get hired with Van Buren.
Good.
I'm Michael Comstock, and I'm 25. I grew up here in Van Buren. I'm here today with my dad, Sean, and my stepmom, Valerie, my girlfriend, Felicia, and my friend, Jameson. I grew up here in Van Buren. I graduated here. It's a great town, and I'm just glad to be a part of it, to be able to help the citizens here and be here with everybody else.
Wonderful.
I'm Michael Stevenson. I'm here today with my wife, Sydney, and my daughter, Kimber. I just want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity and pushing me to where I am today.
I'm Brett Farley, and my fiance Maddie is here. I'm from Tennessee. I have 14 years law enforcement experience there.
Dylan Larimore. I'm from Van Buren as well. Today I have my stepdad, my mom, Tom and Kathy, my dad and his wife, and John, my girlfriend Ariel here. Just can't wait to get out here and see what it has to hold.
I'm Cole Horn. I'm from County Line. I got my mom, my dad, my aunt, my grandma, and some of my college friends here.
My name's John Neal. My mother and father are here, David and Helen Neal. My sister and brother-in-law are here. I've lived in Van Buren my whole life, so this is my home. I look forward to serving this community.
Wonderful.
good job.
As much fun as these meetings are, you're welcome to stay and watch, or you're welcome to leave. If you want to hurt our feelings, if you leave.
We take no offense.
That's right.
If you want to leave, it's fine to stay. Yeah.
Somebody's got to start it off.
Here, then we'll get back to the business.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
All of that one flying.
That's good. That's good. Guess we can get back to what we were doing. That was good. Okay, next item on the agenda is a resolution regarding disposal of certain fixed assets. Clerk, please read that resolution in its entirety.
Being enacted by the City Council for the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk to remove and dispose of certain fixed assets from the City of Van Buren's fixed asset inventory by sealed bid, auction, or other methods authorized under the law and for other purposes. Whereas the City of Van Buren has certain fixed assets on its fixed asset inventory list which are obsolete and or beyond repair and are no longer cost effective so as to no longer be needed by the city. And whereas after an inventory of fixed assets, it is therefore recommended by our state auditor that said items or item be removed from the city's fixed asset inventory and disposed of by sealed bid, auction, or as otherwise authorized under Arkansas law. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Van Buren, Arkansas, that section 1, the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized to remove the following asset or assets from the fixed asset inventory and to dispose of same by sealed bid, auction, or other such methods authorized under the law. Department, Police Department, amount $24,062. Description, 2010 Ford Crown Victoria sedan, VIN number 2FABP7BV5AX102912. Control number PD 687. Police Department, $1,500. MPH Python radar unit, serial number PYT3800000484. Control PD 355. Police Department, $5,421.60. WatchGuard video system, serial number DB101333727. Control PD 694. Police Department, $22,711. 2009 Ford Crown Victoria, VIN number 2FAHP7-1B5X111083. Control PD 659. Police Department, $5,265. WatchGuard mobile video system, serial number DB1012434, PD 655. Police Department, $1,663.08. MPH Python radar unit, PD 654, and serial number is PYT 546006472.
Just two of the vehicles that we pushed out based on the two vehicles, or a couple of vehicles that have come into the system that we purchased. So get rid of them, push them. Questions? Do we have a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Petty.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Swain,
Aye.
Councilmember Sparkman,
Aye.
Councilmember Nealon,
Aye.
Ayes have it by a vote of 5-4-0 against. That'll be resolution number,
A-2-2018.
resolution number 8-2-2018. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a resolution setting a public hearing for abandonment of certain real property in the Buren addition. Ask clerk please read that resolution in its entirety.
Be it enacted by the City Council for the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution setting a public hearing date for abandoning a public alleyway in the Buren addition inside the City of Van Buren, Crawford County, Arkansas. Whereas David Benham, represented by Satterfield Surveying, has petitioned the City Council of Van Buren, Arkansas to vacate and abandon the public alleyway along certain lots inside the Buren addition, more particularly described as follows. Description of existing 20-foot alleyway. Part of an alley between lots 1 and 2 in the north 40 feet of Lot 3 and Lot 20, Block 17, amended plat of the Buren addition to the City of Van Buren, Crawford County, Arkansas, being more particularly described as follows. Beginning at an existing rebar marking the northeast corner of Block 20, set point being on the south right-of-way line of Harrison Street. Thence along the north line of Block 17 in the south right-of-way line of Harrison Street, south 86 degrees, 59 minutes, 52 seconds, east 20 feet. Thence leaving the north line of said Block 17 in the south right-of-way line of Harrison Street, along the west lines of lots 1 through 3, south 02 degrees, 20 minutes, 05 seconds west, 140 feet to a set rebar with cap. Thence leaving the west line of Lot 3, north 86 degrees, 59 minutes, 52 seconds west, 20 feet to an existing rebar, set point being the southeast corner of Lot 20. Thence along the east line of said Lot 20, north 02 degrees, 20 minutes, 05 seconds east, 140 feet to the point of beginning, containing 2,800 square feet and subject to any easements of record. And whereas all of the property owners and adjacent property owners being affected by this alleyway abandonment have consented by signed petition, and whereas the City Council of Van Buren, acting under the authority of ACA 14-199-103 and ACA 14-301-302, has the authority to vacate public alleyways or segments thereof. Now therefore be resolved by the City Council of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, that Section 1, a public hearing is set for September 24, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. in the Van Buren City Council room, at which time said petition shall be presented to the City Council, and the City Council will determine at that time if such portion of said public alleyway should be vacated, and that all affected property owners and other persons directly interested have consented to such vacating. The City Clerk of Van Buren, Arkansas is hereby directed to give notice by publication once a week for 2 consecutive weeks in some newspaper published in Crawford County, advising the property owners and others affected of said date and time the council will hear said petition.
Joe, this will be coming up to the Planning Commission in September meeting for their review and discussion.
Correct. Yeah, we're just setting the public hearing. We'll have all the meetings, meet with utilities and planning commission after, and then we'll come back here for the public.
Come back to the public hearing after their recommendation. Any questions? A motion to approve. Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk, please.
Councilmember Petty,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore, Councilmember Swain,
Aye.
Councilmember Sparkman,
Aye.
Councilmember Nealon,
Aye.
Ayes have it by a vote of 5-4-0 against. That will be resolution number.
8-3-2018.
Resolution number 8-3-2018. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a resolution regarding a revised incentive pay plan. Ask the clerk please read that resolution in its entirety.
Be it enacted by the City Council for the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution of adopting a revised incentive pay plan for the employees of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, and for other purposes. Whereas the City Council approved incentive and longevity pay plans for employees by passage of Resolution number 3-06-1985, Resolution number 12-04-2003, and Resolution number 12-01-2006, and whereas it is the desire of the City Council to revise the incentive and longevity pay plans with the belief that the revision will benefit both the employees and citizens of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas. Therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Van Buren, Arkansas, that Section 1, incentive and longevity pay plans for employees of the city of Van Buren, Arkansas, adopted pursuant to resolution number 3-06-1985, resolution number 12-04-203, and resolution number 12-01-2006 is hereby abolished and replaced by the comprehensive pay incentive program hereto. Section 2, all current employees shall receive a copy of the revised policy. Section 3, the new program shall go into effect immediately upon passage of this resolution.
So the way this started was the police chief had come to me and discussed adding a provision for incentive for field training officers. And when an officer undergoes his training and somebody's staying with them, is being trained by a field training officer, to add an incentive for him, and at the end of that time period, he'd get paid. And we've discussed this for the last several months. And then we had discussions about a language incentive for employees that can have an additional language that can help throughout the city for in specific cases. And so we decided to add that one in, and got the police chief and others in as we had that discussion. Well, we had these other incentive programs that had gone back over the years in different places, and thought, let's just bring them all together into one current plan that shows what are the incentives that we're currently paying the employees. So this was an update of that. There's some, if you see some changes, because it's just over the years, those have been changed, but there's nothing to reflect it. For example, in the original incentive plan for longevity, it said to be calculated every 3 years. Well, in actual practice over the years, they've been involved, and it's just every year it's done. So this reflects what we actually do. So there's actually just two additions to this. One is the field training program for the police officers, and a language incentive pay for anyone who's incentive who has additional language to benefit the city wherever they may be.
Do we have any currently?
With additional languages? Yes, we do. We have. Go ahead, Chief.
We don't have any, well, we have maybe 3 in the police department. I'm sure there's some in other parts of the city also. So yes.
Yeah, we've got, and I know that the court has attempted to send individuals for testing and training in additional languages, but if somebody's motivated and wants to do it and we can use it, then we'll test them. We're not just going to say, oh, okay. But we've already had discussions. Chief, you had discussions with over at UFAS, correct?
Yes, the professor at University of Arkansas, Fort Smith, has agreed to come over to sit with the person, the employee, for about 30 minutes. And then she will make the determination, yes, they are fluent in this language, or in Spanish actually, she's Hispanic, or they are not. And then she also has some resources that we can use for other languages also to the university. Free of charge.
Other than those two, all these others are just what we've had as a matter of practice.
That's correct.
Just to, and I don't have a problem with any of them, but just for understanding, the college incentive pay, is that incentive pay while they're pursuing that, or does it stay after they receive their degree in law enforcement related?
It's while they're in law enforcement. So
It stays.
Yes.
So while you're earning it, you get, for every 25 hours, you get a pay, and then once you earn it, it's there permanent. In addition to the certificate level of pay?
Correct.
I didn't know if that came, and then once you were done and you got your degree, then it would move to the certificate level of pay.
They're 2 different programs.
Right. And fire department basically has the
The
same program for incentive pay for college credit going to a fire-related degree, and also their certifications, although there are 2 different certification programs for police and fire. But yes, it's not just when they're attending college, it's when they get those hours towards that degree.
What happens if somebody has their degree when they're hired? One of the gentlemen that just, do they automatically get that day one?
They submit a certificate from the university showing they have that.
No.
We just had one recently.
So they're off probation.
Yeah, we just recently had one do that, and Chief's got a great point. that one would be, for example, they're not on probation, but I think we just had one who received hours from through the Air Force College.
Yes. And he'll get his through that. Matter of fact, one of the officers here, I was telling Joe, he was a roster player for Vanderbilt. He's a linebacker. So he got college through Vanderbilt. So he'll get those as soon as he's used all the other requirements as full-time officer.
So they have to submit those, like the one with had the degrees, I mean, the hours out of whatever the Air Force College was, submitted those for review through them, any interview approval. Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Let's go ahead and call your roll, please.
Councilmember Petty,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Swain,
Aye.
Councilmember Sparkman,
Aye.
Councilmember Nealon,
Aye.
Ayes have 5-4-0 against resolution number
8-4-2018.
8-4-2018. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a resolution regarding final payment for Veterans Memorial Plaza. Ask the clerk to read that resolution in its entirety.
Be it enacted by the City Council for the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution approving the final payment for Veterans Memorial Plaza and for other purposes. Whereas Crawford Construction Company, acting as the construction manager for the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, advertised for bids for construction of a new park within the city. And whereas the City Council approved the mayor entering into a construction contract with Crawford Construction Company and other contractors in the amount not to exceed $683,640, or resolution number 10-01-2017. And whereas the city's final payment schedule increased the total amount of the contracts by $32,752.84. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Van Buren, Arkansas, that Section 1, the City of Van Buren, Arkansas accepts and approves the total payments of $716,392.84 to Crawford Construction Company and various contractors as attached. Section 2, the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized by the City Council for the City of Van Buren to pay all expenses relating to the new Veterans Memorial Plaza and to execute all documents necessary to effectuate said changes.
The two primary change orders had to do with electrical, which was adding outlets to the bottom of the poles for their use, and also with the tile covering, porcelain tile covering around the pillars with the seals. And of course, there's always the dirt initial with replacing of soil, which was early on. So that's primarily $32,000 in change orders. Questions?
Motion to just make a comment. My father's a veteran of World War II in Korea. When he went to the World War II memorial, it took his breath away. He could not imagine just the pride he felt for his service. And I felt a little bit of that at the ceremony, and then just walked around when I had a chance to look at that memorial. And this is something to be proud of. It's very unique, and I'm proud of the city for just making the effort to put it up. And it meant a lot to my father, and it means a lot to me personally.
And this is Van Buren, Arkansas.
Yes.
We have that here.
It's beautiful. It is.
I think the city, the community did well. It's
Great ceremony too. Motion to approve.
motion approved. Second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Petty,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Swain,
Aye.
Councilmember Sparkman,
Aye.
Councilmember Nealon,
Aye.
Votes were 5-4-0 against. It's resolution number
8-5-2018.
Before we get off there, I want to share something real quick about that park. as we move forward with the plans and doing it, one of my concerns was, we were going to demolish the old park that was there. That was just a little tired, over years, and update. And so the Sterling, who's on the job as we were getting ready to complete it, open it, said that he had some folks that would come down as they were doing a demolition and said, what are you doing? You're tearing this down. They thought it's just going to be turned into a green space or whatever. And he said, just bear with us and I promise you're going to like what you see. It's going to be good. And they're a little bit nostalgic about it. And he said that when the other ones started coming up and started taking shape, the same gentleman would show up and they'd stand there and said really they'd start to tear up looking at what was there. Well, I didn't realize it at the time, but Judge Pierre came to see me. He said my father was one of the original people behind the first park. Something he had seen in Vancouver. And I thought, okay. And he said, my father would be so proud of this new park that it's made the mark. So again, you did well. The city did well.
Well, David and I drive by it all the time. We just stop in the middle of the street and all.
Yeah. Yeah, just don't put on your trunks and go swimming in it. All right, next time we get to this, an ordinance to rezone property. Let's see, the first one is on Baldridge Lane. Yes, the first one's on Baldridge Lane. I'll ask the clerk, please read that ordinance in its entirety.
Be it enacted by the City Council for the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 7-1963, Van Buren Municipal Code number 14-04-01, for the purpose of rezoning certain property in the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, amending the zoning map of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, and for other purposes. Whereas the City of Van Buren, Arkansas is duly incorporated under the law of the State of Arkansas with all powers, authority, and duties of a city of the first class, and whereas the City of Van Buren has adopted the zoning ordinance for the City of Van Buren, ordinance number 7-1963, and whereas a request has been made by Tim and Kathy Organ to rezone certain property within the city limits of the City of Van Buren, and whereas notice of a public hearing was duly published in the Southwest Times on August 8, 2018, and a public hearing was conducted as required by law, ACA 14-56-422, on August 23, 2018. And whereas, as a result of this hearing, the Planning Commission has recommended that certain property within the city limits of the City of Van Buren be rezoned from its previous classification to the following: property zone C2, thoroughfare commercial district, new zoning R3, multifamily residential district. Legal description: part of the east half, north half, northwest quarter, southeast quarter, section 12, Township 9 North, Range 32 West, Van Buren, Crawford County, Arkansas, being more particularly described as follows: layman's description, 610 Baldridge Lane, Van Buren. And whereas the proposed rezoning herein was recommended by a majority vote of the entire Planning Commission in accordance with ACA 14-56-422. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the City Council of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, that Section 1, the above described property is hereby rezoned from C2 to R3, and the Van Buren zoning map is amended to reflect this rezoning.
Do you have a motion to suspend the rules and go to a second reading? Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ask clerk please read the ordinance by title for a second reading.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 7-1963, Van Buren Municipal Code number 14.04.01, for the purpose of rezoning certain property in the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, amending the zoning map of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Got a motion to further suspend the rules and go to a third and final reading.
I make that motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ask clerk please read the ordinance by title for a third and final reading.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 7-1963, Van Buren Municipal Code number 14.04.01, for the purpose of rezoning certain property in the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, amending the zoning map of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Kyle, are you representing?
No, sir.
Not on this one. Okay.
So
Question?
basically what's happened with this
Yes.
is that there was an issue with regards to both of these properties, both this one and the next one that are up for consideration are both used as residential properties. And I can't remember, it was because when it was brought in, it was zoned commercial, even though the use of that property was not consistent with that. And this has created a problem with financing for one of the owners of the property and trying to prevent there being some type of spot zoning issue, but while recognizing the need of the property owner and probably, you know, the fact that we brought it in as a use that wasn't consistent with the property. We tried to explore different options. And the best option we came up with was for the adjacent property owner, which is Mr. Morgan, to go ahead and have his property brought in, as well as the second property that we're looking at as residential, as R3. So that instead of there being a R3 pop down in the middle of a C commercial zone, which could be problematic, instead we have a R1 zone that abuts now will be abutting an R3 zone, which then abuts to a commercial zone. So that it's almost would be like a buffer zone in between residential and commercial. So it actually is more consistent with the land use, one, and two, is a more appropriate zone in order to protect the R1 property behind it, actually. So that was kind of the Planning Commission spent a great deal of time trying to work with the property owners and figure out the best route to accomplish this, but we believe it's consistent with the current land use as an appropriate designation as well.
And the R1 being the off the Legacy Boulevard, back in the back, and the G.
Yes.
City owned.
Yeah.
Or is that county?
That is city owned, right to there.
And I'm not trying to question, and I didn't get to go by there because I was out of town, but to me, I mean, do we have the ability to do any kind of transitional zoning? Because I don't know that, again, having not been out there, I'm a little bit of disadvantage, but I mean, that's, to me, is more of a commercial use than it is a residential use. Now, I know you've got that buffer there by having that R3 zoning, but I mean, to me, that area is transitional and more so than it is even R3.
Well, I think R3 is a better designation than commercial for that area because both of those are being used as residential properties.
Right.
Currently.
No, I get that, but I mean, now which one is the next one? Is the one, is it this one?
This is the first one, this big.
The horseshoe looking one?
Yes.
And then the second one is right beside it?
Yes.
Okay. And
West.
yeah.
In layman's language, what have we done?
Well, and that was my next question, is how did we get there? Because we have the ability to just rezone, we can't spot zone, but we have the ability to just come in and execute. I mean, isn't that an
Well, okay,
invalid?
so technically, I mean, every rezone within a surrounded area is not necessarily a spot zone. You have to look at the use of the neighboring property, the use of the property itself. There's a whole lot of factors that you look at rather than just where it is and what's surrounded by it.
Right.
But nonetheless, in this situation, we brought a property owner in a designation that was not consistent with the use of the property. And I think that was probably one of the most influential factors on the Planning Commission was the fact that, you know, we brought this in, when we brought it in, the zone was designated as commercial.
Do you mean annexed it in?
Yes, when we annexed it in,
Okay.
we assigned the zoning as commercial. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the intent 20, 30 years ago was that it would turn commercial. It hasn't turned commercial, so we've been approached to consistently zone it with what's compatible around the area. The transition zone, excuse me. Really what you would want to do, what's not good is having commercial right next to R1. That's what we're trying to avoid. And actually by by meeting these requests from the 2 residents, we're actually fixing 2 birds with 1 stone in a way.
That is a transitional.
Yeah. The R3 is actually, it's better than having just strictly commercial right next to the R1, so it actually does fit as a transitional buffer between the commercial and the R1.
I was just, and I may be thinking about it right, I was just thinking if it was transitional, then that would be, that would then allow them to be a conforming use. But, I mean, I could see what happened, just me being in the business that I'm in. Everything's great until the neighbor builds 400 apartments there, or whatever he can build on that use. And then it's gonna be a.
Well, right now, they could build a lot worse than that.
I
for the
understand.
residential neighborhood there.
I understand.
Yeah, if I speak to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Because it's the same issue on both.
Sure. Yeah, they're both tied to one another. I'm Kyle Sawyer with Hawkins. We're engineers, in case I've not had the pleasure of meeting any of you. My fear on doing it to strictly to a transitional zoning is I suspect that the mortgage companies, because they are treating it right now as residential, they have existing homes that have been there since the mid-70s. And Mr. Hill and Mary Hill's case, I'm not sure that they would allow them to go and get their loan for financing. And that's really what's brought this to the forefront. Kind of the history of it from what we understand. Back in 1974, when the Hills built their home on the property, they were outside the city limits. They were in the county at that point. And then in I think it was 82, they were annexed into the city. And at that same time, they took a 330-foot strip adjacent to the Highway 59 right-of-way called it commercial. That 330 feet did not take in their residents. Their residence was still outside of that area. At a later time, unbeknownst to them, they were brought into a much larger commercial zoning. We don't know the time frame of when that occurred, but literally until earlier this year when they requested funding to bring a local or a new business into town, they had no idea that they were in commercial zoning. So I would be fearful of recommending anything other than a residential zoning they're currently utilizing, because I think that would cause them problems on the financing end of it. I'd be glad to answer any questions that y'all have pertaining to the Hale situation.
And we have worked with the Hales to try to find a way in the current zoning with the mortgage, with the lending company to work through this, and they are, not the Hales, but the lending company just dead set that since it's a commercial, they cannot do anything with that.
And I think our planning commission would be the first to say, usually like, well, there really needs to be a hardship here for us to address, a personal issue like financing. I think that in this case, because of the manner in which it was brought in, now obviously there probably was notice that was given to all property owners when that annexation occurred, but you know what types of notice those are. So, I mean, I don't think the planning commission didn't fault them necessarily for not being aware or cognizant of that, but also simply because it really, that does make that a transition as opposed to a directly, basically from R1 and government zone property to a commercial area. So, and I'll just have to disclose that I'm a property owner up in this area, and I personally would, feel like that would be a better transition, than having directly onto commercial.
One other.
I don't have a problem with, and I certainly understand financing, so I don't have a problem. I'm just thinking the next big thing would be, gosh, this is worth a lot more money than my single family house. I can sell it and do apartments there, which when apartments may not be the best use for that area.
One of the things to note is they have more land here than just the 5 acres that they're requesting to be rezoned into R3. Portion of theirs, they still want to leave as C2, the frontage along 59. So we're not saying that we're making all that commercial land that the Hills own into R3s. The frontage would still stay as commercial C2.
This guy got up to say something. Go ahead.
I just made a bunch of notes, and the only thing I know to do is just tell you the facts.
Well, that's
okay. I moved out here in '72. I was in the county. We built our home in '74, '75. We were in the county. We had city real water. we came in the Van Buren city limits sometime 82 or 3. They zoned up next to the highway, 330D, commercial. And we were left R1, I guess at the time. Okay. Sometime later, Walmart came in. They established a line about 1,400 feet, which included me, my neighbor, and even on up to the hill where the resident starts. I was lying more or less straight from the east side of Walmart all the way north. Brought us into C2. Okay? We tried to make a loan at 2 different banks on our home. We didn't know anybody, anything like that. We were denied by both of them because the C2 says that you cannot get a building permit to rebuild your home if it's 2/3 damaged. Okay? We would not finance our home because it was in a commercial zone. They could not sell the loan to Fannie Mae because the C2 zoning, 2/3 damage from the city, from tornado. We had $365,000 damage from the '96 tornado. If that happened today, we would collect $365,000 from the insurance company, but we would have no building permit to rebuild our $1 million home. So then we got nothing. We lose $700,000. And committee members, if the city rezoned your home last night and you had a buyer who wanted to buy it tomorrow, you couldn't sell it because you couldn't get a loan. If I died and Mary wanted to sell you my home for $1 million and move away to somewhere else, she couldn't sell it because you put the pressure on us with this zoning thing. And I'm not the bad guy here. The only reason I made this loan is for a new multi-million-dollar business that is coming to our town. They will pay city taxes the first year, some $150,000, plus it will grow from that because they signed a 10-year contract. They will employ 6 to 8 people. And that's just the facts of it.
Let me clarify. My intention was not to, I'm not against you. I was asking the question to see if we could get you what you needed and have you the most flexible future opportunities as well as the city.
Well,
so
my piece of property has a 300-foot power line easement across it.
Right.
So you couldn't build anything in the bulk of the area anyhow. Our home is on the north side of the zoning, and we have a motorhome building on the south side of the zoning. And in between, the fire company comes through and trims the trees and fusses at you about this or that. You know, they even had us take out our fruit trees.
I was just asking to see if we could get another, and it sounds like that's not an option, and so I'm good with the recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hale.
You're welcome.
So we're back to, we're looking at the,
Well, the two of us together or whatever.
we gotta do them one at a time here, so we're back to the ordinance. And their property to start with. So this is a recommendation of the planning commission, and we've been looking at this, Joe and the planning commission, the Hales, Kyle. So here's a recommendation. Any more discussion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Go ahead and call your roll, please.
Councilmember Petty,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Swain,
Aye.
Councilmember Sparkman,
Aye.
Councilmember Nealon,
Aye.
Ayes have it by a vote of 5-4-0 against this ordinance number
18-2018.
18-2018. So the next ordinance is to rezone property on Fayetteville Road, and this is over to the Hales property now. And ask clerk to please read that ordinance in its entirety.
Be it enacted by the City Council for the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, An ordinance to amend ordinance number 7-1963, Van Buren Municipal Code number 14.04.01 for the purpose of rezoning certain property in the city of Van Buren, Arkansas, amending the zoning map of the city of Van Buren, Arkansas, and for other purposes. Whereas the city of Van Buren, Arkansas, duly incorporated under the law of the state of Arkansas, with all powers, authority, and duties of a city of the first class. And whereas the city of Van Buren has adopted the zoning ordinance for the city of Van Buren, ordinance number 7-1963, and whereas a request has been made by Hawkins Weir Engineers to rezone certain property within the city limits of the city of Van Buren, and whereas notice of a public hearing was duly published in the Press Argus Courier on July 18, 2018, and a public hearing was conducted as required by law ACA 14-56-422 on August 23, 2018. And whereas, as a result of this hearing, the Planning Commission has recommended that certain property within the city limits of the city of Van Buren be rezoned from its previous classification to the following. Property zone C2, thoroughfare commercial district. New zoning R3, multifamily residential district. Legal description. Part of the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter, section 12, township 9 north, range 32 west, Van Buren, Crawford County, Arkansas, being more particularly described as follows. Beginning at the northwest corner of the east half of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter, the southeast quarter. Then south 89 degrees, 30 feet east along the north line of said east half, 177 feet. Then south 02 degrees, 46 feet east, a distance of 222.3 feet. Then south 89 degrees, 29 feet east, a distance of 148.9 feet. Then south 01 degrees, 28 feet east, a distance of 437.7 feet. Then north 89 degrees, 30 feet west, a distance of 311 feet. Then north 01 degrees, 28 feet west, a distance of 250.5 feet. Then south 88 degrees, 32 feet west, a distance of 134.94 feet. Thence north 01 degree, 28 feet west, a distance of 250 feet. Thence north 88 degrees, 32 feet east, a distance of 47 feet. Thence north 01 degrees, 28 feet west, a distance of 160 feet. To the north line of the west half of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter of said section. Thence along said north line, north 88 degrees, 32 feet east, a distance of 68 feet. To the point of beginning, containing 219,104 square feet or 5.03 acres more or less, subject to existing right-of-ways. Layman's description, 2320 Fayetteville Road, Van Buren, Arkansas. Whereas the proposed rezoning herein was recommended by a majority vote of the entire Planning Commission in accordance with ACA 14-56-422. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the City Council of the City of Van Buren, Arkansas, that Section 1, the above described property is hereby rezoned from C2 to R3, and the Van Buren zoning map is amended to reflect this rezoning.
Do I have a motion to suspend the rules and go to a second reading?
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. As the clerk, please read the ordinance by title for a second reading.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 7-1963, Van Buren Municipal Code number 14.04.01 for the purpose of rezoning certain property in the city of Van Buren, Arkansas, amending the zoning map of the city of Van Buren, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Do I have a motion to further suspend the rules and go to a third and final reading?
Motion.
Second. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
I'm sorry.
Aye. That's okay. Opposed, motion carries. As the clerk, please read the ordinance by title. I was so wrapped up in this legal description, clerk. I really want you to read it again.
I will.
No. I think we have a vote from the audience that says no. Okay, go ahead. Read the ordinance by title for third and final reading.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 7-1963, Van Buren Municipal Code number 14.04.01 for the purpose of rezoning certain property in the city of Van Buren, Arkansas, amending the zoning map of the city of Van Buren, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Go ahead. Call your roll, please. Bless you.
Councilmember Petty.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Swain.
Aye.
Councilmember Sparkman.
Aye.
Councilmember Nealon.
Aye.
I think there might be a need for an emergency clause on the second one. If there was something that the council would consider.
You're trying to move forward with your...
I would make a motion that we consider those
emergency emergency clause? Okay, we have a motion to approve an emergency clause, and we have a second. Go ahead and call it roll, please.
Councilmember Petty,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore, Councilmember Swain,
Aye.
Councilmember Sparkman,
Aye.
Councilmember Nealon,
Aye. Is there any reason, Candace, why we wouldn't go ahead and do the other one? I know they're not doing any financing.
No, there's not. I mean, no.
Can we go back and do that?
I think that we could.
Good.
I don't see any reason that we couldn't just go back on the agenda and reconsider that ordinance.
Okay, so I'm going to go, okay, let's just take care of this one first. So the ayes have it for this ordinance, and it passes by a vote of 5-4-0 against with an emergency clause, and that's ordinance number
19-2018.
19-2018. So I'm going to go back on the agenda to item number 9, which was passed by the council, and ask for consideration for an emergency clause on that ordinance. Have a motion to adopt an emergency clause on ordinance number 18-2018. Is there a second? Go ahead and call it roll, please.
Councilmember Petty,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Swain,
Aye.
Councilmember Sparkman,
Aye.
Councilmember Nealon,
Aye. Okay, ayes have it, so emergency clause is adopted on ordinance number 18-2018. What that means for y'all is that instead of the ordinance having to sit until it takes effect, as soon as the council passed it with the emergency clause, it takes effect immediately. So your rezone takes place right now.
Time was of essence here.
And it's in place now. Thank you.
I certainly appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Ms. Hill, good to see you.
Thank y'all.
Next item, agenda financials. Ask the clerk to read the amount.
$1,402,846.76.
Motion to pay the bill.
Motion to pay the bills. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, under boards and commissions, we have a reappointment for Ms. Carol Williamson for the Municipal Auditorium Commission.
Could I ask a question about that? How come we never see the people we appoint?
Well, in Carol's case, for example, she was appointed about 8 years ago.
If you would appoint me, I'd show up down here. You know, I just wondered. I'm not angry or anything. I've never seen anybody we've ever appointed.
Well, we can ask them if they would like to be here.
Yeah.
Or you can go to the Municipal Auditorium Commission, or you can go to the Municipal Auditorium Commission meeting and you can meet them there.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Motion to reappoint Carol?
Yes. I'll make that motion.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Department reports. Any questions? None to be filed as they have been submitted. Under miscellaneous general discussion, I have 2 items. The first is a congratulations to Jim Petty for the AEDC volunteer.
It's hard to not be a volunteer when you're in Volunteer Community of the Year so many years consecutive, so.
Just kind of happens. But congratulations. That took place today?
Today.
Congratulations. Second item I have, you all received copies of the legislative audit report, which was going before committee. I think it's next week it goes before committee. There are 2 findings. Well, actually there's 3 findings to discuss. One is segregation of duties. That's a finding that happens on about every report within the state. Because you just can't have enough people to segregate all the duties we do. Last year we didn't get it actually, but we do the best we can to segregate duties so we don't have any issues. We're always going to get that one. Another entry had to do with, we have a tuition assistance program, and we provided tuition assistance to a police officer. Financial aid, individuals will tell them to take all of their tuition assistance that's available. You know, the more the merrier. But in the case of our tuition assistance policy, that's not the case. And so once that was discovered, he was notified that we can't do that, you can't do that. And he was back here the very next morning and wrote a check back to the city to pay back for his tuition assistance. We've suspended the tuition assistance policy to further notice, because there's also an issue with dealing with the IRS when you start doing tuition assistance, so we've got to work through that and how to do it. The other item was former city clerk received per diem from the Arkansas Municipal League and from the city for the same meetings. And again, you cannot do that. So we have put out to all individuals, when you receive per diem, you can do it only from one organization, not from two.
Just a curiosity question on that one. How did they determine that that's a city? Because it could have been just as easily, in my eyes, it could have been the municipal league issue and show up on their audit. Why did it end up on our audit as opposed to their audit? How did they determine that?
Because they don't audit the municipal league, but they audit us.
So is there a cure for what has already happened? Or they just slap our hand?
They slap, go ahead.
How did that even come up?
They're looking through they just
Called the municipal league? and
They
said
looked
that
through the books.
They cross-reference, all state agencies, all of their financial records, the auditors have access to all of them, and they can run cross-checks.
So I assume this was because being on a board there.
Yes. Yeah, so if you're on a board with the municipal league and they're paying you per diem, you cannot then get mileage from the city.
Sure. That makes sense.
Okay, so one, you choose one or the other. You can't do both. So we just reinforce you cannot do that. You choose one or the other. We require when an individual goes to training that they have to provide the agenda. They have to show on that agenda if meals are provided. If it shows that breakfast is provided, then they cannot get reimbursed from the city for breakfast because breakfast was available. You just chose not to eat it. So we require copies of agendas.
Yes, copies of the agenda.
And travels. So. When legislative audit spent about 3 months with us.
Yes, first 3 months of the year.
They spend 3 months, and these are basically the only 2 items that were in there. We correct those, but as we finish up, if you look for any hints of, any threats of, any financial mismanagement, it's not there. They do a great job. And I'm very thankful for legislative audit coming in and being so thorough, because we don't want to end up that way. Any other questions? If not, we have a motion to.
I'd like to make a motion we adjourn.
Adjourn. Is there a second?
Okay.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.